children. And, you know, I really thank God for my children. They don't give me headaches. They're good children. So when I look at life, I have an obligation to look generationally. I have an obligation to look beyond myself and to look beyond my children and to look further. That's why I speak about 2050. When I look at my life, I recall the days when we were once the breadbasket of the continent. And when I look ahead, 2050, I see us as the breadbasket of the world. I know there's global warming, but we still get our rains. The quality of our soils are some of the best in the world. The human capital, although under distress, you heard what was said earlier by Pumela. There's a spirit of excellence. We may have gaps here and there. We may be in a place right now where it looks like the progress may be slow, but one thing I'm confident about is the fundamentals are still strong and we can get to where we need to be a middle-income country by 2050. I believe that you and I have a mission. As Zimbabwe's diaspora community, we have made tremendous efforts to sustain Zimbabwe. How have we sustained Zimbabwe? We have done so through remittances in terms of food, in terms of clothing, in terms of skills, over $1 billion over the last 3 years, according to the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. So the social value in sustaining the livelihoods of the loved ones back home is absolutely priceless. We have become ambassadors for our nation. Everywhere you go, you will find a Zimbabwean resident across all the continents, dutifully serving and proud to be identified as being a Zimbabwean. We have become resilient in taking opportunities to be able to feed our families where we are and also to make the lives of those back home be in a better place. We have built skills that have given us opportunity to occupy very powerful senior strategic positions in private companies, in non-governmental organizations, in the public service in other nations. Though we pause to celebrate specific individuals today, we must all still continue to persist. For our Zimbabwe critically needs to rise beyond its current economic and social status. Zimbabwe ought to be our collective interest. And we as Zimbabweans need to realize that the people are the biggest asset. Within the diaspora community reside amazing and unique skills that will rebuild a nation. I believe foreign direct investment is critical, it's important. But when somebody is looking at $1 and looking to invest and get a good return for their money, do you know that right now the most attractive investment destination is the United States of America? That's where you get the biggest rate of return. So what is it that Zimbabwe will need to do to be able to attract the investment that it needs? Its people, but not only its people, the diaspora is at the center of what will drive the economy forward. What I want to encourage us to do is to persist in developing innovations for challenges that affect our families, communities, in order to restore dignity to our people. The next time we see or hear of a place called Zimbabwe, of a place in Zimbabwe that has no water wells, that has no electricity, where there are no tables or chairs in a school, let us see how we can leave that place a better place. I want to give you a little example. I took some friends of mine, they'd visited me from Israel, and we went into a community in Domboshawa. We went to a school that had 1,800 kids. They had a feeding program for, they could only cater for 300 to 400 children because of lack of resources. In the school, they said there were 300 kids that they knew were HIV positive and that needed to have 3 meals a day. So they were a priority in the feeding program. When we went into one of the classrooms, the children were sitting on the floor. They were learning sitting on the floor. When we left, my concern was, how do we get the numbers, the feeding program to 1,800 from 300 to 400? And how do we get the community engaged so that it's sustainable? My friend from Israel looked at me and said, you know, Tsitsi, are you telling me that you have your staff going to visit the school, going in and out? We have a hub there where kids, we have an e-learning platform that allows kids to be able to learn and go through the school syllabus at their own pace. And he said, has none of you ever thought that it's unacceptable for a child to learn sitting on the floor the whole day? He said, can you not make benches and chairs? It was so obvious and so evident to him. And I have to be honest, it wasn't so obvious and so evident to me. When I looked at the cost of putting together a desk, a table and benches, I realized it doesn't cost that much. It was just a blind spot that I had. So when we go, all of us have a connection to a rural home or to a school that we once went to. And when we go back, if we could take what we do to the next level, I know governments are supposed to be the ones that build schools, that do infrastructure, because they collect taxes. But when you're so beaten and so down and out as a nation, there's no room to wait for a government to come and restore a school, to build a well. We have to take responsibility for that. The skills that each one of us has are amazing. If today Zimbabweans had to be withdrawn from the United Kingdom economy and go back home, they will feel the void. It will make headlines. Why am I saying this? Because if we invest in upskilling our young people through mentorship programs, you don't have to physically go to Zimbabwe. Technology allows us to do some of the mentorship online. Or when you do go on holiday, to adopt a community and start mentoring our young people. Begin to open their minds to the opportunities that they have, the possibilities, and how they can begin to navigate through life. You know, one of the things that is a big door opener for anybody is self-confidence. Our communities don't have confidence. Our children don't have confidence. But people in the diaspora, when they walk into a room or they walk off a plane, from immigration onwards, they are confident. They have this self-reassurance. They have a strong sense of self-respect and dignity. And that is something that we can impart to some of our communities. Just in conclusion for tonight, I also want to, to just say, celebrating achievement is something that is very special. There's no one who doesn't want to be recognized for what they have done. But for tonight, I want to just say congratulations to those of you who are going to be receiving awards. Those of you who were considered but do not receive an award, I just want to remind you that what you already have that got you to a place where you're being considered is priceless and invaluable. So congratulations to the winners and to all of you, and have a beautiful evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now for some awards. We have some honorary recipients, and the first honorary recipient is an award by Made in